How comfortable would you feel making big profits out of the homeless? Well, tonight we start with a shocking story. Landlords are buying up family houses, carving them up into tiny flats, quadrupling the rent, and then leaving us, the taxpayer, to pick up the bill. We sent Mark Jordan to investigate.
For several years now, I've been reporting on the mad world of London property.
Tiny door.
The greed for big profits in small places.
There was just 4 separate adults in here.
I've seen it all.
This is an extension. They built it around a tree.
So why are you going to break my door down?
Why am I going to break your door? Because I think I'm Superman.
I've witnessed the slum landlords and challenged the fraudsters.
Is there nothing you'd like to say? You pleaded guilty.
But tonight, richer pickings than any TV property guru ever dreamt of. I'm about to show you how shrewd landlords are buying up modest suburban family homes, packing them with the homeless, quadrupling the rent, and charging us, the taxpayers. Welcome to a world where Zone 6 family homes turn into 5 tiny flats, divide and profit.
So this one room, housing benefit, is paying £980 a month.
It's just like being in a cupboard.
It's not that wide. Look, I can touch.
I'm here on the toilet, my elbow's in the sink and my feet are in the shower.
Someone is making a lot of money.
They've used every inch of space.
This is not a flat. This is a single room.
It's over £1,000 a month.
And we're talking, what, about 10 square metres you're living in now?
Across London, we're losing thousands of family homes. In spring 2016, this modest 2-bed house sold in Hanworth, Zone 6. It was ripped apart and partitioned into 5 tiny flats. Now Anderson's got half a patio door.
For them to be able to split the room, they took the main door and split in 2 parts.
So by giving you half the patio door, they've got an extra room on the other side.
Yes.
These remote suburban rooms can earn more per square metre than parts of Kensington.
So on this street, you can rent an entire family house for around £1,200 per month. But if you divide it up into 5 tiny little flats, you can earn around £4,600 a month.
Gary was homeless, suffering early dementia and recovering from a stroke. For over 35s, housing benefit will pay for a single-person flat.
We've got a sink in the room. It can now be classed as a studio flat, and a studio flat is £1,000 a month, as opposed to without the sink it would be a room which is about £400 a month.
Using taxpayers' money, the housing benefit people don't even demand a minimum flat size. Crafty landlords have hit the money tree.
I have worked all my life and paid taxes and think this is what the government's wasting, throwing the money away. It's a scandal, really.
There's even a certificate from Hounslow Council saying it's all legal.
Now, if you've ever struggled with a council over that kitchen extension or trying to cut down a tree, you're going to be wondering how on earth a council allows a small family home to be turned into 5 tiny flats.
And here's how. Each house must have a communal kitchen. The house can then be treated as an HMO, a simple house share, needing no planning permission. But the housing benefit people can still be persuaded that it's 5 separate flats. Hey presto, legal, tiny flats. So what of the one back in Hanworth?
You would never have given planning permission on that tiny house becoming 5 flats.
Very unlikely.
Is this an HMO or 5 separate flats that you've authorised?
As far as I'm concerned, it's licensed as an HMO.
But then they tell the housing benefit people that it's 5 flats.
That would be for the Department of Work and Pensions to answer.
But it's messy, isn't it?
It's extremely messy, and I think, I hope through your programme that we can start to unpick and sort out this terrible mess. They're working the system to make a profit at the expense of the taxpayer.
Even for a child, this room is small.
Why did you take it?
Because I was homeless for 4 years. I was desperate. The only reason you sign is because you have nowhere else to go.
Green Park Housing manage this property.
There's 5 flats here. I'll show you my
They say everything is legal, including room size, adding accusations of excessive profits are without foundation. They say 3 flats are let and they have taken a commercial risk on people most wouldn't shelter, saving the taxpayer thousands on emergency housing. Elsewhere, other landlords provide similar accommodation. Investigation Officer Ben Reeve-Lewis advises 4 London boroughs. We're in Lewisham.
If you're getting £5,000 a month on a single property and you've got hundreds of them operating, go figure.
It's cat and mouse, isn't it?
Yeah, they do know the rules. They know exactly how to create that smoke screen that keeps enforcement officers of all stripes running around in circles.
Every house we visit has that communal kitchen.
If there is a planning breach, then they can argue that, well, it's not been converted into separate flats because there's a shared kitchen. So it's almost like they've got a foot in each camp.
Things get curiouser and curiouser. Housing Benefit demands each flat has a bathroom and kitchen. Yet here, taxpayers are paying for flats you can't cook in.
He put up the notices that there wasn't to be cooking anymore in the rooms.
Confused?
It's a constant game of sliding doors and smoke and mirrors.
I want Theresa May in here. If I was working, there's no way on earth I would pay that money to live in this.
Yeah.
So would anyone other than the taxpayer pay £930 for a tiny place in Zone 6? I've placed an ad on Gumtree specifying no DSS. It's hardly scientific, but not a single inquiry in 2 weeks. Recruiting the homeless seems so much easier. Landlords offer their property at churches and shelters.
I stayed under a tree like an animal. So I was glad that was past me, that I was actually going in a door, that I was locking the door behind me and that nobody could interfere with me. That was like manna from heaven.
I signed my signature on a tablet actually with my finger, and was only too pleased to have somewhere of my own.
Successive governments have paid fortunes to private landlords to provide this shelter. But after 55 years as a homeless charity, St Giles Trust say they can no longer be a part of it.
We have stopped housing people in London because we feel ethically we can't support it any longer. When we are being asked to house people in the private rental sector in converted garages, it's wrong. The roofs you're talking about aren't fit for purpose, but they're the only things around.
This is obviously just not where you want to end up.
Just recently I've been thinking, is this the end for me? Is this how life finishes for me like this? It's depressing, it's very lonely. Is this it for me?
This has been a depressing investigation, millions in taxpayer money, and most councils telling me there's nothing they can do. But Newham Council thinks the taxpayer is being robbed, and it can and should stop right now.
Place in the council, can you open the door please?
We've obviously discovered that there's a self-contained flat actually within your property.
Newham cross-referenced benefit claim data against planning applications on their compulsory landlord register.
The licence is for a house in multiple occupation.
The landlord could be fined and lose his licence.
It's an absolutely disgusting thing to do. What you're saying is I'm going to press you into a small place and I'm going to rip off the taxpayer, and the poor people that are there have no choice. You can't do it in Newham, we'll catch you. But you can do it everywhere else. We need to do something. We need to start caring about the people who are forced into these conditions.
With most London boroughs refusing to take part in this programme, I'm taking my findings to the chair of a Commons committee investigating landlords.
Unbelievable, yeah. And these landlords just know the system, and they're running, as you say, they're running circles around the councils and their offices.
A lot of people watching this are going to think we are shoveling money at these landlords.
And they'd be absolutely right, we are.
What are you hoping the committee might be able to do?
To look at this and put questions directly in the end to government ministers. How can you justify paying out as a government this amount of money for this standard of property?
The Select Committee has a copy of this film.
It's small, but it's my home for now.